Actually, today I thought about this on the way over today. I thought, because it's like a business event, I'm pretty sure I'm going to walk in and most people are going to be dressed in black.
Of course.
And then when I walked in, you were the first person I saw in that room. I was like, oh my gosh, this is fantastic because you're never going to forget. You're never going to forget.
So I often take the flight that comes out of Saudi on a Thursday evening.
Okay.
And that's the last flight out, either Riyadh or Jeddah, where everybody's either going to Dubai or back to London.
Yeah.
And it's literally an army of guys that are all carrying Tumi suitcases and dressed in black suits.
Yeah.
And I'm the only guy that's, got a pair of white
Yeah.
pants on, and I'm just sort of looking around going, really?
Mm. Your briefcase is brilliant, by the way. I saw that on
Thank
the
you.
way, and I was like, that's a completely different level of respect now. um, what is clothing for you?
Oh, blimey. I've never really thought about it. Um, oh, I think there's a difference between the what and the how and the presentation.
Mm.
Um, when you're dealing with boards, the way you present material and the way you can simplify it and make it clean is extremely important. I think the way you come across as a professional
Right.
is extremely important as well.
Right.
But you need to be unique. If you're all in your black dark suits, you're just another person in the black dark suit crowd.
Yeah.
And if you want to try and stand out, or you want to try and assume some sort of a leadership role, you've got to have a little bit of a difference in your personality.
Yeah.
If you look at if you look at some of the major global entrepreneurs that we've had, they all stand out because of personality quirks, or there's something about them that's different.
Yeah. How did you come to find your own personality? Because I think oh, I feel like as we're growing, as we're becoming, older and evolving in our careers and our professional lives, oftentimes we find ourselves having to forge our own path and find a way for us and find our own personalities.
I think the scars make a big difference.
Mm.
The experience of having gotten things wrong. And wisdom doesn't come from getting things right. Wisdom comes from having made the mistakes before. So I've made a lot of mistakes and I've had a lot of scars. Um, but in all honesty, and I'm not playing to mean a culture, but I think a lot of my personality comes from the family.
Yeah.
Uh, my wife and my kids had a huge impact on me. So when I'm not working or I'm not with my horses, which is a passion, I'm with my family. So I think a lot of that is driven from maybe some of the traditional family values that I was raised with.
And before you ended up getting married, were you always around different sort of nationalities and taking away
Oh,
from parts of them?
look, I was very lucky to have been born into a very expatriate family. So I was raised in 11 countries at the age of 18. And we were everywhere from South America to Africa to the Middle East and to the Far East. Um, so that gave me without even realizing that I was learning that, it gives you one intercultural tolerance.
Yeah.
So you can walk into any society and you can immediately work out what are their rules and how do you fit in and how do you play by their cultural elements. It gives you tolerance, flexibility, and actually you become what's officially known as a third culture kid. You've been raised in every single culture other than your own. So you're always used to being on a flight, you're always used to being in different cultures. And the nice thing is that you can see the different richness from different societies. So when I come to Cairo and when I come to Egypt, it's palpable. You can see the history, you can see the culture, you can see the passion in the people and the entrepreneurial spirit that you've got on the street. And you can really see that. And different nations have got different angles.
Yeah. And how did you, so I think one of the most important things that most entrepreneurs try to work through as they kind of get, further along in their careers and grow their companies, what are the qualities and the traits that you need to embody
Hmm.
as you're growing? And what parts of those are very important in learning how to stay true to yourself?
You ended up with the staying true to yourself. Um, I think if we think long term, not short term,
Okay.
it's all about the integrity and the trust. At the end of the day, when we do business in this region of the world, it's all about your personal reputation. It's all about the network of trust that you have. So staying true to your own values and having the courage to get up and leave if something's happening that doesn't match your ethics. Don't question your ethics. Hopefully, those ethics have been embedded to you from your parents and your family and from the values there. If you're involved in something that doesn't work with your values, don't do it.
Mm. It's very true. I think a lot of the times, because as you're growing in your businesses, you kind of are like you're given certain opportunities, and sometimes at the expense of your ethics and your values. And what you're saying is so, I think, it's revolutionary, because if you can have that as a guiding rule, when you're placed in those situations, it becomes a no-brainer. This doesn't align.
I've got a really bad memory, and my wife knows this, and my kids know it, and everybody that, you know. And the nice thing is that if you're continuously telling the truth, you don't have to remember what wasn't the truth before. And since my memory is so lousy anyway, I'd get caught the next day. So if you just stick to the integrity, the honesty, and the truth, and stick to those basic values, it makes it a lot easier for you.
Yeah.
You don't need any get out of jail free cards.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Because once you're lying, you don't remember what you lied about.
And then you have to keep on lying to protect the lie, and
That's true.
it gets complicated.
It doesn't. It goes downhill from there.
Exactly.
What are the ways that you've learned to kind of teach yourself to be self-reflective and introspective over the years? Because I think a really big part of growing in your positions of business or work is the growth of your business skills, but I think it's a very large part of it, I've come to learn, is you growing in your own character and evolving in your own personality.
It's all about people. It's all about people skills. Um, I think the best point in time for me was when I realized that I'm never going to know it all anyway. So if I can surround myself with people who are better subject matter experts in their areas than I will ever be, then the quality of the team I'm building is not about my individual know-how and experience. It's about the people I can assemble and then the leadership I can give. And when I say leadership, it's not leadership like this, it's leadership like this that I can give to the team that I've put together. So attract and retain good people, attract and retain and give them the right delegations of authority. Now, you need to remove it. Occasionally, you're going to get it wrong. You're going to hire somebody that you shouldn't have hired. And I've made the mistake before. Make sure you remove a rotten apple before it infects the rest of the barrel, because you spend so much time building good teams. Occasionally, you're going to get somebody wrong. Maybe they're a round peg in a square hole. Just make sure you take care of that sooner rather than later in a humane way.
Yeah, it's very true. I mean, I've fallen into that trap, I think, a couple of times where we've kept a bad apple for much longer than we should have.
And did you regret not having let them go sooner?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because the damage that we had, the damage control we had to do after cost us much more than had we just let that person go. But I realized for us, it was stemming from a place of fear.
Yeah.
It was stemming from a place of, if I let them go, but they've been with us for so long, one, they're going to walk around telling people in the industry that this happened. And
it's really interesting when I say recruit people for different skills. I'm going to generalize, but women have got an intuition that men haven't got.
yeah,
And when I'm interviewing, I've always 9 times out of 10 wanted a really strategic head of HR who's a lady, because I want her to. Sorry, did you see something I didn't see? Did you feel something I didn't feel? Part of it is background and research and CVs and references, but the other part is, will they fit the culture of what you want to build?
that's very true. And so when we come to think about the way businesses are run, because a lot of the times you always hear things of, take your emotions out of the equation, be much more cutthroat. But I'm starting to understand more and more that I think part of being a good leader is also learning how to be truly human and not shut off your emotions, not cut out the part of you that makes you compassionate. So when we come to discuss, qualities of what real good leadership is, what are the parts of us that you think are absolutely essential when it comes to being a good leader? And what parts of you have you learned to bring to the surface in being a leader?
There are two chairmen I've interacted with in the last year, and both of them have got the wisdom. And the way they interact is amazing. On the surface, it looks like they're very quiet ducks. And then when you look under the water, they're pedaling like mad. And both of them focus on human relationships around the board, focus on people, focus on, they communicate 10 times more than I communicate with people. And I'm learning from both of them how the soft skills around the boardroom table and how the soft skills when you're building a really good team are just so important. At the end of the day, business is business, yes, but we're humans.
Right.
And when you build a team, if you can build a really high performing team, you'll go so much further. And a high performing team is making people feel free and comfortable to contribute to the best of their abilities within the ethics of the organization, within the skills that we require. And if you can get there, it's a nice feel.
Yeah.
I've got team members that used to work for me 10, 15 years ago that if I pick up the phone now, they'll come and work with me tomorrow morning. And it's a nice feel. Now, managing downwards is one thing. You also need to manage upwards in terms of your board, your shareholders, your stakeholders as well. But at the end of the day, stick to your values, be true, be honest as you can.
Yeah. And when you say manage upwards, what does that mean?
Okay, so it depends where you are in the organization. We were talking about corporate governance this morning,
Yeah.
and corporate governance being the systems and policies by which you direct and control an organization. So you'll have shareholders appoint a board, and the board reports to shareholders. Then you have a board appoint the executive, and the executive report to the board. So your executives need to be managing upwards in terms of reporting to the board, and your board needs to be managing upwards in terms of their reporting to the shareholders. What does it mean? Understanding expectations, understanding risk appetites, understanding what the ambitions are of different shareholders, and for the board making sure that they cascade that down in terms of vision, mission, and strategy for the organization. One thing is setting strategy, then we come back to the human part. You need to be able to attract the talent and the caliber of talent and retain them to be able to implement the strategy. And I think in the old days, I was much more of a, if you can prove it on an Excel spreadsheet, it'll work.
Yeah.
Now it's about, can we attract the caliber of talent that we need to fundamentally differentiate ourselves in the strategy? So again, a good strategy is one thing as defined by the board, but it comes back to, can we attract and retain the caliber of talent we need to implement that strategy?
And when you go to attract that talent, how much of that is you making a decision based on intuition, and how much of it is you making a decision?
Until about 5 years ago, all my decisions were very mathematical. And what I suddenly started to realize was that my mathematical decisions that were against my intuition were generally wrong, and my intuition was generally right. Now, psychologists will tell you that what we now call intuition is actually your subconscious having so many years of hard work behind it that it's actually looking at 300 or 400 variables at the same time. And your conscious doesn't understand that, but your gut feel is telling you one thing.
Right.
So do I trust my intuition a lot more than I used to? Yes. However, I'd trust even more the intuition of a team, and I'd want to get everybody's views. I'm still capable of making a mistake, and I might make a mistake. So surround yourself with good people and get everybody else's opinion. Slightly longer in terms of the decision-making process, but maybe you're going to end up taking better decisions.
Yeah. And how often, so, because sometimes you hear, it was my intuition. It was just a gut feeling. I can't logically put into words why this is the right decision, but my gut said to do it, so you did it. How often do you feel like you're able to hear that sound versus what your logical brain is telling you to do?
I hear it all the time. All the time. I hired my PA 12 years ago after a 2-minute interview, and she stayed with me for 12 years, and it just clicked. So sometimes, yeah,
How do you learn to hear it?
I don't know. I don't know. And I'm still nervous about listening to it because remember, I'm a very mathematical person.
Yeah.
So something I cannot explain makes me nervous.
Yeah.
But over the years, I've noticed my intuition has been generally right when my mathematics have been generally wrong. So I'm still at odds with myself in terms of accepting that this intuition is not mathematical and I can't explain it.
Yeah.
But 9 times out of 10, if I've not followed my intuition, I've been wrong. Can I explain it? No, I can't.
No, yeah.
I cannot explain it. You'll need a psychologist for that.
Yeah. No, because I think my intuition's just recently begun to, I've started to learn how to use that to my power in making correct decisions. Prior to that, it was a thing of like, oh, I felt like I should do this, but then logically, I put things down on pen and paper, and then I did that. And then once the situation passes, it's like a total disaster. In retrospect, because hindsight's always 2020, right? You look backwards and you think, oh my God, it's so clear why I should have actually made that decision. I think we also learned to kind of, it was just a learned response for how maybe we were raised or our environment, where we learn to not go with our gut feeling.
So don't misinterpret my answer.
Okay.
But maybe as you've built up the wisdom with a couple of more years, you see, ladies don't like me talking about how many years there are.
It's fine. It's fine.
Maybe with a few more years, you've started to develop the history that's led to your intuition, just like it happened with me. So maybe over time, your intuition's going to get better and better as you move forward as well.
Yeah, makes sense. It's very interesting because I think because one of the things I learned over the years as well there was a pivotal moment in some of our businesses where I kind of felt like I was lacking in knowing what to do. And then part of it was the leadership part of it was the technical part. Technical was easy to acquire because you can teach yourself
There's a
and
simple
study.
solution.
What is it?
So when I was 18, I knew everything there was to know. And then when I got to 25, I realized that I was wrong at 18, but at the age of 25, I knew everything. Then when I did my MBA, then I was absolutely convinced I knew everything. And maybe about 10 years ago, I suddenly realized that I was never, ever going to know everything.
Yeah.
And that actually, go and ask your elders. They've been through it before. I want to go and have a coffee with a 75, 80, 85-year-old and say, can I have your view on this? You've been through it before. Can I have some insights from you? So there's nothing wrong with going and learning from others. You just need to accept that you'll never know all the answers yourself. And once you feel comfortable with that yourself, and then you get to the self-assured position of, now I'm going to start asking people that probably have the wisdom that I'll never get, and go and ask 2 or 3 of them, and they'll share the insights with you. And that might help your decision-making process.
That's very.
It's like being the chairman of a board. If I'm the most intelligent person on the board, I shouldn't be there. I want to surround myself with board members that are much better in their individual areas of subject matter expertise than I will ever be. So I'm creating a team of knowledge which is much bigger than mine. I'm just there making sure that I'm moderating the discussions, making sure we're talking about the right things, guiding the discussions, but I don't want to take any decisions. I want them to opinionate, debate, opine, and then come to a collective decision. And the greater the wisdom and the individual experience that I can put around the boardroom table, the better the quality that the board's going to make.
Yeah. And at what point in a startup's life do you feel is a good time for them to begin thinking about bringing in a board?
Now that's very interesting because there's dynamics between established corporate governance and entrepreneurs that don't work. Entrepreneurs do not like control and do not like oversight. If you have an 11-person board on a startup SME, you'll kill it. You've got more people on the board than they've got employees. It doesn't work.
No.
So there's a concept in corporate governance called fit for purpose.
Okay.
And as you evolve from this SME and you become bigger, then you're up to your pre-IPO and then you become a listed entity, your corporate governance requirements in terms of oversight change through every single phase of the board. So if I was doing a pre-IPO or a listed entity with what I'd stick on top of an SME, which is probably 2 of the executives with one maybe independent and a shareholder representative, that would fail. But if I took an 11 people board from an IPO or a public listed entity and put that on top of an SME, it would fail. So you've got to make it fit for purpose. At the start end, a couple of the executives, maybe the independent happens to be one of the major investors as well. That's your start element. Then you start to grow and you evolve all the way up to your listed 5, 6 independents on the board, maybe 1 or 2 shareholder nominees. It's a very different concept according to the growth.
Yeah. And at what stage for like a CEO or a founder's life do you think we come back to the space of listening to those around us, but trusting what we believe to be right? And when do you know when it's your ego making a decision? When do you know it's coming from a correct place?
I might be wrong, but I think we all have different personalities.
Mm.
Can a founder evolve into being a manager? I'm not sure it's the same skill sets.
Mm.
I've seen serial entrepreneurs that are brilliant at being startup entrepreneurs. And then when the organization gets to a certain size, it needs a different style of leadership. Entrepreneurs are used to being at the core, at the heart, at the center of everything. But once you have an organization that's got 50, 100, 150 people, it can't work like that anymore. You need structure, you need processes, you need delegations of authorities. And that's not an environment that an entrepreneur generally thrives in. Could you take a manager that's used to running a larger organization and make them an entrepreneur? No, they'd fail as well. So I think you have different types of personalities for different life phases of an organization. Are there exceptions to the rule? Absolutely. You look at a Bill Gates, you look at an Apple, a Steve Jobs. Often the image that we're given is they started in a garage and then they became a huge CEO or chairman of the board or then shareholder of a large global organization. Are there exceptions to the rule? Yes, there are. But in general, I'm not sure that an entrepreneur can become a manager or a manager could be an entrepreneur.
Yeah. I want to close off with one question. What are the parts of us as human beings that you feel we need to constantly and consistently take a look at as we evolve through our professional lives?
Skills, knowledge, wisdom, experience. Don't be scared to make mistakes. You'll learn from them. As long as your mistakes don't have any reciprocity of application to other people around you. It would be a shame that I make a mistake and it has an impact on somebody else. Um, don't be scared to evolve. Don't be scared to learn. And go and ask the questions from those that have got a few more years of wisdom from us.
That's very true. Thank you so much.
You
This
are
was
more than
amazing.
welcome. Thank you very
Amazing.
much.
Thanks.